We spend decades learning how to save for retirement, but very few people are taught how to manage their money once the paychecks stop. Today we have Guy Sloan from Fisher Funds here to talk about how New Zealanders can approach managing their money in retirement with a bit more confidence and hopefully some less stress. Good morning, Guy. Love to have you in the studio. All right, when people retire, what is the biggest financial shift that they actually have to make?
Yeah, I guess the big thing is it's not just finishing work. We see this really big change to our finances as well. We've probably spent 30 or 40 years getting really good at saving and investing, and then suddenly we're told now you need to get really good at learning how to spend that and spend it well. It's a pretty high stakes game. We've got one opportunity to get it right, and that just drives a lot of unknowns, a lot of uncertainty. It means that there's this opportunity to make some early decisions and just make sure that we get ourselves set up really well for retirement and actually look at what we need to do with our finances at that time.
Okay, so once you're retired, is there a simpler way to think about income?
Yeah, and this is a big part of it. A lot of it is kind of how we consider our savings and investments for retirement, a bit of a mindset sort of shift, so to speak. I always like to sort of talk initially, NZ Super is brilliant. We all have that to help out with those basic core living expenses. But at the same time, we do want to think about what that lump sum that we've invested is for as well. One really good thing that a lot of my clients have done in the past is, again, segment the super for all of the basics and those necessities, but all those lifestyle choices, hopefully the travel, hopefully the extra time with family, those things that are a little bit more positive and in our control, that's what our hard-earned savings are for.
So a lot of retirees just then, once they've been stressing out about trying to save enough, and then you sort of retire, then you start worrying, oh, I'm going to run out of money, right? Yeah,
and this is the big question. There's often really big headlines out there as well. You know, you'll see we need these lofty figures. It's not always true, though. I've met so many Kiwis that have got through retirement and had a really great, enjoyable time doing all the things and goals they wanted to do on a lot less than $1 million. So, I mean, good news, you can do a lot of this in those early years and just understand yourself what kind of income that you actually need. And that's really key, is just early steps, a little bit of planning, work with what you have. You know, we've worked really hard our whole lives. We know exactly what we have at this time. There's some amazing tools out there as well, which can just help give us a bit of clarity and certainty. The Retirement Commission has a tool called the Retirement Navigator, really great at letting you know with certainty and clarity how long your funds are potentially going to last, and also what level of income you might be able to get from those.
Okay, so it's reassuring probably that there's not a magic number, right, that you have to hit.
Yeah.
So what are some of the mistakes that people make when they move into this period?
I think the big issue that I probably see with a lot of New Zealanders is simply getting to retirement and not having taking the time earlier on to plan, and even just thinking about in very basic steps what retirement might look like. Spending that time to think about what's important for me, what I can do early on. If we get to that point and haven't taken those steps, there's a risk that we just make some kind of off-the-cuff decisions. Those usually end up not being correct and can have a pretty big impact for kind of decades to come.
As retirement goes on, do we end up spending more or less?
Yeah, I find this really interesting. Everybody's retirement's different. Some of us will potentially spend more earlier on. I call them those sort of bucket list years. That's where we get to do all of those kind of big ticket items that we've had to maybe hold off through our working life. Things do tend to sort of settle down, but there's always those other areas like medical and care costs, which can add big sort of peaks and differences year to year. Checking in once a year on our lump sum, on our nest egg, making sure that the income that we're drawing is still sufficient is probably a good simple step to take in that space. But equally, just having a bit of clarity around, what for me, my retirement, what's important, and just having a bit of a plan early on.
Guy Sloan from Fisher Funds, thank you so much for joining us in the studio this morning.
Thank you.